So hey, welcome to a very special Wrestling Travel presents the Lockdown Sessions. Now, I'm here with Connor and Andrew from, make sure I'm saying it right, the Sports Obsessive?
Sports
Or is it
Obsessive.
just Sports Obsessive?
Sports Obsessive.
Oh, okay. And the reason why this is so special, this is really cool to have you two on. The last time I did a kind of a double shot like this, where I'm talking to more than one person, I had Lucy and Kelly, the Blossom twins, on, former TNA Impact, and it was tough just because one girl's line would go out, then the next one would go out. So if we freeze up or anything, we'll keep on going. But guys, give me a little bit of a history lesson. Talk to me about Sports Obsessive, what it is, how long it's been around, and
So Sports Obsessive is pretty new. We launched in mid-March, and pretty much right before the world went to hell. So we had about the absolute worst launch timing possible. But to go even further back than that, Connor and I both work for a site called 25 Years Later. And 25 Years Later covers TV, film, music, video games. It's a lot of different stuff. And in full disclosure, I'm the owner of 25 Years Later. So about a little over a year ago, I scored an interview with John Moxley. And it was going on 25 Years Later, and it blew up. And I'm a lifelong wrestling fan. I knew Connor was a wrestling fan. A few of the other 25 Years Later guys are wrestling fans. And the gears started turning. Like, wrestling probably doesn't fit on 25 Years Later, but we know how the website game works now from doing this site for a few years, and it's time to do some sports related stuff. So we came up with a plan to launch a second site, and like I said, the timing was terrible because nobody knew about the like how bad the pandemic was going to be and things like that. But we decided to go ahead and launch anyway and make our rookie mistakes while the sporting world and the wrestling world are kind of crazy right now. And as things get better in the world, we'll be in a better position site-wise.
And honestly, it's been just a blessing to just have something to do because I've been furloughed from my job. So it's just been just fun to write articles about just random things, and just great to be writing about wrestling again. I've been covering the New Japan Cup, and just feels nice to watch wrestling again and enjoy it.
it really is like the one sport that, even though it's changed with the pandemic, with the no fans and everything, it's just it's better than like baseball or NBA, where we lost everything. So it's kind of good. And it does, Connor, it does pique your creative juices, doesn't, when you're kind of sitting around going, okay, I got nothing to do and all day to do it. So you start to think of some different things. How did you score the Moxley interview then?
So Connor's laughing. I have roots in the independent wrestling scene in Cincinnati, and that's where Moxley comes from. So knowing him from working together in a promotion called the HWA, I sent him a text when the story started circulating that he was leaving WWE, and he's like, I can't talk to you for 90 days, bro. And waited the 90 days, and once he was free and clear to talk, he sent me a text that said, I've got another big announcement coming out. You'll know when you see it. And that was the New Japan announcement. And as soon as that hit, he texted me and he's like, you ready to talk? So we were second after Talk is Jericho.
Very cool. HWA Heartland Wrestling with Les Thatcher. So how do you have roots with that?
So I came in after Les left. There was another regime that came in, and Les was done. He was ready to kind of just end that chapter. And a buddy of mine was training, had a bad back injury, and wound up on the management side of things. And at the time, I was a journalism student, and he's like, why don't you come? You can hang out at the shows and do some write-ups for our website. And the next thing you know, I'm fully in that part of the business, working on the website 7 days a week. And my job grew from there. And by the time that I left in 2012, I was the play-by-play guy.
Wow, good deal. Connor, what's your you got any as in-depth story as that of wrestling, or
No,
coming
not
as
at
a
all.
fan?
I was very much a casual fan until maybe, I don't know, 2015. It's been a long road. It's been originally it was just a lot of watching VHS tapes. A lot of it was just hanging out with friends, playing video games, watching Raw, ordering pay-per-views every month, and yeah, it came with the internet like everything else, but also it mainly just became with my love for like podcasts and things like this that really kind of ignited my passion for the business because I didn't know what the dirt sheets were in the 90s, which always made me laugh when wrestlers would say what they are. Everybody knows what we're talking about, but like so
What?
past couple years.
Yeah,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead. Sorry, no, I thought.
So yeah, past couple years it just really exploded. Things with like All In. My friends really got back into wrestling because of obviously CM Punk was a big thing because I'm from Chicago. So there was kind of like three big things. It was like All In, CM Punk had his big run, and then me moving back to Chicago, which I lived in Virginia for a few years. So it was kind of all that kind of culminated me like, and I was unemployed for a few months too. And I was like, let's see what wrestling's going on. And then since then I've just been kind of keeping up since. And OSW Review, another great video podcast that I started watching at my previous job, and pretty much all of those just made me just love wrestling again. Which is I feel like the wrestling media gets a really bad rap, which is really annoying when you listen to podcasts like Eric Bischoff or Pritchard. That it's their whole shtick is just like, let's crap on the wrestling journalists, mainly Dave Meltzer. But it really annoys me with that because a lot of the media really actually got me into wrestling again. So I feel like they should ease up a little bit. It gets kind of old.
It's funny because we have the polar opposite wrestling experience.
Yeah.
I grew up. My grandfather was a dirt sheet guy. So I was 5-6 years, and he's like teasing me with, I think this is going to happen soon. And it wasn't until I was a teenager that I figured out he was a dirt sheet guy. I just thought my grandpa was smart. But yeah, he did that. I even remember him calling Hogan turning heel and joining the NWO. He's like, I got a feeling it might have something to do with Hogan. And that the next day I called him like, Grandpa, how did you know that? And that was around the time I figured out, like, oh, he's got an inside scoop.
Got the inside. So you're a Chicago guy, Connor. CM Punk. You were at All Out. Did you get a chance to meet CM Punk at the Starcast?
No, I'm not a huge convention guy, and by that time I had a kid, so a lot of my extracurricular activities have really died down. My wife let me thankfully go to All Out, but no, I went to All In as well. I don't know how I got tickets for that. I know a friend of a friend that knows this guy that knows Phil as well. So it's just the connections for me are very distant compared to Big Shot Andrew over here.
Who grabs Moxley? So let's go back to when you guys are younger. Or what first? Who are you watching? Who first gets you into wrestling? Who's your wrestler? Who's your guy when you first start watching it that goes, hey man, this is cool?
Okay. So for me, I grew up like as far back as I can remember, wrestling was always on. But the angle specifically that pulled me in was Savage and Jake Roberts and the infamous Cobra biting the arm. That was the angle where I remember, like, I would sit on the ground watching Saturday morning wrestling with my dad, but I would be playing with my toys or something, and wrestling was more just in the background. And when Savage got bit by the snake, I remember looking up at my dad just freaking out, like, Dad, he's going to kill the Macho Man. And a few months later, they had a cage match in Cincinnati, and that was my first live wrestling show. And ever since then, my passion for wrestling hasn't ended. And that was, 91, 92, 91?
Yeah, don't put me on the spot with that, but that certainly was a freak out moment with that.
Yeah, late 91, fall of 91.
So who's your guy then? Savage, obviously?
Yeah, Savage was the childhood, pulled me in, and then as a teenager and early adulthood, it was Sean. Sean, match quality, like Sean and Flair are my guys. And then currently, I don't know, I have a lot. But I guess lifelong, I'll say Savage and Sean.
Very cool. Connor, who do you got?
WrestleMania 12 it sticks with me a lot. It's a lot of Bret Hart and Shawn. I was an athlete pretty much my whole childhood. I played soccer from when I was like 5 until 19 year round. So I always admired the athleticism in wrestling, and Bret and Shawn were the best guys to show that. So the Iron match really sticks out. I wouldn't say it's like my favorite match, but I didn't know wrestling an hour-long match was a thing, and that was the first time like, whoa, guys are going for 1 hour. So I always thought that was just the coolest thing when I was a kid, and that pay-per-view really sticks out to me. My friend and I, we rented that VHS tape countless number of times. So that probably sticks out. It's hard to tell which one I like better. It'd probably be Bret, because I thought the sharpshooter was the coolest, and you would inevitably put the sharpshooter on one of your friends, and but yeah, I would probably say WrestleMania 12. But WrestleMania 13 always sticks out too, because this actually was just down the street here at the Rosemount Horizon, which is now the Allstate Arena now. And I don't know why my friend didn't invite me to that show. He went. It's like, man, it was so cool. You have to watch this Bret Hart match. There's so much blood, and he showed me the match. I'm like, all right, I'm in. Get me. I want more.
Yeah, that's a classic match. The old Bret Hart, Stone Cold, Ken Shamrock, the referee.
I'm so pissed I wasn't there. Never forgiven that friend.
So yeah, when you pick a favorite wrestler or picking wrestlers now, like you say, Andrew, it's tough. It's almost like so many different styles and different people that I respect. But, you guys cover more than just wrestling though with Sports Obsessive. You guys are
The plan is baseball, football, basketball, MMA. Like we plan on covering a variety of sports, and once things are a little bit more back to normal in the world, our hook is going to be that we want to cover sports from both sides of the pond. I know that your business can relate to this, but a lot of our writers are British, and we've got an Irish writer and a few other people from various parts of the UK. And we're like, the world is getting smaller because of technology. So let's be that site that, we cover a ton of wrestling because we're all wrestling fans, but wrestling fans like other sports too, so we can be that one place where you come and you get sports content from both sides of the pond.
Our founder is actually on the board of directors for a soccer/football is what they would call a team over there, called the Tranmere Rovers. So I would be a bad employee if I didn't mention them. But here's my suggestion. Take it from somebody who knows nothing about being a sports journalist outside of wrestling, but Australian rules football. If you haven't had a chance to watch it, it's outstanding. And I think, because you got your rugby over in England and Australia, but man, have I become a massive Aussie rules fan. Have you guys got a chance to ever watch it?
No, I haven't. Have you, Connor?
Nope, ever.
Oh, it's crazy. Check it out. It's a little bit of rugby, it's fantastic. It's something I played rugby shortly after my college football career was over. They said, let's start a rugby club. And people would ask me, well, explain me the rules of rugby. And I would say, I can't. I kind of know them when I'm out on the pitch, but I don't really know them. And that's the way I am about Aussie rules football. It's just some different type of sport to watch. And I wish an American place would kind of cover it more. So that's my tidbit. So what's your where are we at now with a couple baseball questions here for you? I'm not sure if you guys are ready to answer this, but I'm hearing today now there's going to be 2 teams of reserves in Nashville. This is the plan. I believe that leaves a lot of minor leaguers out in the dust. But now my question is, are these guys just doing drills the entire season? Are they going to be like kind of a Washington Generals, Harlem Globetrotters, where they're just going to play each other constantly? Or do you have any idea what's happening, or it's too early to tell?
Yeah, I have no idea. A lot of the media has been focusing on, at least for Cubs coverage in Chicago, it's the TV deal because they have a new TV network, and are we going to have fans in the stands? So that's a lot of what the media's been talking about. A lot of the minor details, like the new rules, and obviously, like, I think the other players are going to be in South Bend. I think I heard, for Chicago, which is in Indiana. So I've only heard very, very, just a few small takes on the situation with that.
Yeah, it does really seem like it's too soon to tell at this point. The owners and the players just a week ago seemed like they were a million miles apart, and things do seem to be progressing pretty quickly, but I'm hesitant to make any definitive statements about where we're at least for a few more days.
I'll make it an easier question for you. I'll switch over to the NBA. This one, it doesn't have to be factual. It could just be opinion. Huge Milwaukee Bucks fan, suffered through countless numbers of losing years, or where we would just make the playoffs and lose. And I'm talking back in the 80s. Now, we appeared to be in the driver's seat before the pandemic hit. If the NBA continues, and if we win the title, I guess not just Milwaukee, but anybody, how are we going to look to the rest of the sports world, the rest of the NBA? We have that big asterisk. Obviously, we're going to have a little bit of an asterisk, but is it going to be looked down upon?
I don't think you can look down upon it. It's still the team that won despite the circumstances. There's nothing scandalous about how the team played. There's nothing scandalous about how the team won. They went through what they had to go through to win. I don't think there's an asterisk at all.
Maybe.
Connor, you agree?
I'm not sure, because I think basketball is that one sport where if you do have your one superstar that gets sick or gets hurt, it's not quite the same. So if LeBron goes down in the finals, I don't know. It doesn't feel the same. I always think about Spurs versus the Knicks. I think in '99, that was a short season as well. But Ewing wasn't in the finals. Spurs steamrolled them, and I guess they won the title, sure. But it didn't feel as legit. So I think basketball is that one unique sport that it's kind of affecting it the most. But like in baseball or hockey or something, one or two guys go down that are star players. I think it's still legit. So I think basketball is going to be affected the most in that case.
I definitely see your point, but I guess everybody has that understanding of, hey, if our superstar goes down, we're screwed. So
Yeah.
To me, it feels like an even playing field, if that makes sense. Like, everybody knows the score going into it, but I don't know. I do see your point.
Now, how about baseball? So I'll jump back to baseball. 60, as a Brewers fan, if there's no All-Star break, I think we got a shot, because we used to always be hot and go into that All-Star break and just come out rumbling, bumbling, stumbling. But I guess same question. That's definitely an asterisk, because now you're going to have your purists saying, hey, it was a 162-game schedule. Now we're down to 60 games. That's got to be an asterisk there, right?
Yeah, and baseball to me feels like the weirdest of all, just because, like you said, there are some teams that are traditionally first half or second half teams. Baseball is so superstitious. There's, I don't know, the momentum is going to be a big thing in baseball, because the pandemic started right before the baseball season started. So we didn't get any baseball whatsoever. There was no, hey, we started the season to see who was doing well. There's more what ifs in baseball, in my opinion. And look at a division like the NL Central, which is stacked. The NL Central has several teams that can compete. How are they going to do on a smaller scale season with limited games? What's it going to look like when 4 of those teams are 2 games out towards the end of the year? Because that's realistic. We could see 4 teams in that division play really, really good baseball, and at the end of the year, it's a photo finish. How are people going to feel about that when they say, oh, well, maybe the Cubs would have made the playoffs had there been a first half of the season, or the Reds. I've never seen Cincinnati fans so excited as they were when the Reds started spending money this offseason. It felt like, oh man, like we actually we're investing in this team. We've seen so many false starts and so many, we've got this guy over the years. But
we got Griffey. Ooh.
Yeah. There was something that felt different about this offseason. And now, if the Reds don't get time to gel as a team, if they go out there and they play 500 baseball or less, everybody's going to say, oh, well, if we would have had the first half of the season, then who knows what the second half would look like. This is a new club. It's loaded with talent. Did we miss our year? I don't know. Baseball's got a lot of asterisks, in my opinion.
Are you a Reds fan then?
I am actually a Cubs fan. I like the Reds, don't get me wrong, but I grew up in a house that was not dedicated to the Reds. Everybody kind of had their own team. And for me, being home during the day, the Cubs always played day games on WGN. Yep. So I would sit around and watch those with my dad. My dad worked night shifts, so we would watch the Cubs game before he went to work, and just kind of adopted him.
Yeah, that's the Cubs and the Braves, with those two national cable. So I won't yell at you for stealing Mike Moustakas from us. Not stealing them. We just weren't spending the money.
Hey man, every time I think the Brewers are going to be like, they're done. They have no starting pitching again. They're done. And then they keep competing. So don't lose faith yet.
That's the thing. We've always, like especially this year, is like, are we going to go after an arm? Are we like the year that they got CC Sabathia? I was like, hell yeah, dude. Okay. However this turns out, it turns out. But at least finally they said, well, we're all in. Let's give it a shot. So I was happy with that. Running a sports website. Now, you guys obviously are going to have your favorite sports. Connor and I were talking off the air. He's a Chicago guy. Do you find – I know you've got a lot of different people contributing, but you guys find pressure in I have to know a little bit about every sport. I have to know MMA. I have to know wrestling. I have to know baseball, football. I mean, do you get that pressure?
I try to set the tone that have your area of expertise and don't feel like you have to catch up on other areas. If you're an NBA guy or if you're a baseball guy, if you're a football guy, run with what you were interested in before you join the site. There's other people that can cover other sports. Wrestling is the common theme that brought us together. Most of the sports writers enjoy wrestling. Not everybody wanted to write about it, though. There were some guys who were like, ooh, I'm more interested in writing about other things. And I think that's what makes it work. And then for me, I go out and I try to recruit. And like, hey, we're a little thin on baseball content. I need to go find a baseball guy, instead of asking everybody to become more comfortable with sports that they weren't as familiar with.
Yeah, I think it's harder for wrestling, actually, because I actually feel the pressure of I don't watch NWA. I probably don't watch NXT enough. I haven't watched Raw or SmackDown in probably 2 years now. So I definitely feel that pressure when it comes to wrestling, because we used to do like pay-per-view predictions. I'd be like, man, I haven't been catching up. So there comes a time where I feel this pressure with a kid. Man, I should really be watching a lot more wrestling. I wanted to go support my indies. I went to a couple AEW shows, and I wanted to go see Shimmer, but the first Shimmer show I was going to go to got canceled during the pandemic. So there's been a lot of where do I divide my time? Where should I concentrate more? At first, I was writing a lot about AEW. I've been watching them lately just because of I don't like empty arena wrestling. So that's become the biggest challenge for me. Yeah, I don't worry about other sports as much. As Andrew said, I'll write about baseball. I only wrote about The Last Dance because I know about the Bulls. I wouldn't say I'm an NBA expert, but 98 Bulls, I watched every freaking game that year. So, but other than that, yeah, I feel really hesitant with certain certain wrestlers and wrestling organizations that I ever really need to catch up on.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if any time in the business is a time to be hesitant on wrestlers and
Yeah.
promotions. Now's the good time. I tell you what, though, I got a good one for you in Chicago. Really good friends with Steve Tortorullo, who runs Warrior Wrestling. If you haven't been to one of their shows,
I haven't heard that one. Where's that?
Schaumburg.
Okay, that's close to me.
Runs it right at the school there. They're on High Spots Network. They're all over. They've been putting some free stuff on YouTube. They're a good mix of up-and-coming talent mixed in with, well, their current champion is Brian Pillman Jr.
Nice.
You guys will be familiar with him in Cincinnati area. And he won the belt in a kind of a gauntlet match because Brian Cage was injured. Tessa Blanchard is their women's champion. So they bring in a lot of really cool talent for a really good value at the Catholic school there, and a lot of the money goes right into.
There you go. There was an organization I've never heard of that I probably should have. I'm sure my friends in my wrestling text message thread, I'm sure they mentioned it, but it's just over my head. So yeah,
you know what? It was one of those when I first saw it mentioned. They were at All Out in Chicago, and we took a bus from the hotel. We brought fans over to Warrior Wrestling, and I'm like, I thought it was a flash in the pan. Like, oh, look at this organization. It's got 37 different big stars. So this is just somebody cashing in on everybody. Which, yeah, we're cashing in everybody being down, but man, greatly run. I'm always entertained watching wrestling, but there was some. I tell you what, my favorite match that this will tell you how good some of the stuff was. Alex Shelley versus Austin Aries.
Nice.
Other people were like, "Oh, I'm gonna go get some popcorn," and I'm like, "I haven't watched these guys," and the match blew me away. So yeah, you got one close right there, and actually,
awesome.
I think Illinois is getting very close to being able to run some like outdoor wrestling at 20% capacity. I don't know when, but they're getting close. Is the rumor that I hear. We're running in Wisconsin right now, which is weird, but
yeah, you couldn't pay me to go to any event right now, so
it's a little bit different. So where do you guys cover? Oh, we're running out of time. 10 minutes. What that threw me right off, guys. That's why I'm not a professional journalist. It blocked the whole screen. So let me plug the socials right now. I've got hopefully a few more fans can come and watch the Sports Obsessive. Get on the train now because you guys are going to blow up. Hopefully, bigger and better things. But right now, while things are quiet, what are the socials? Where do we go?
So on Twitter, it's at Sports Obsessive, and then that's also the name of our business page on Facebook.
Okay, so daily updates on both of them?
Yep, you'll see. We have content out pretty much 7 days a week right now. Some days it might be one article, other days it might be 4 or 5 articles, but there's at least something every day.
Right, that's the way it goes right now. Sometimes it's like feast or famine out there, sports world. Not a lot going.
Yeah, yesterday was one of those days where content was cranking out. We started, with everything going on in wrestling, not to get into all the controversies of it all, but we've had to shake up some of our wrestling content. The NWA's production has halted. That was one of our big shows. We kind of made a commitment that we wanted to cover promotions that weren't quite WWE, AEW level yet. So MLW is a promotion that we constantly weekly are covering their content, and NWA was another one of those promotions where it's like every week we are going to have at least one article dedicated to those guys, and with that happening, that threw a wrench in some of our plans. So a little bit of regrouping right now on our part.
And NWA, Billy Corgan, a Chicago guy. They got kind of that connection. I love what they're doing down there. It's unfortunate what's happened, not just to them, but everybody kind of going through in the business. Do you guys cover now? Let me ask you this, because that's another motorsports, Olympic sports. Is that stuff that you'll once we get to the Olympics got pushed to 2021, is that something
It-
you're going to cover a little bit, or?
We might. I won't say that we have any definitive plans to, but if a writer were to come to me and say, "Hey, Andrew, I want to do this," I'd be like, "All right, cool, let's do it." So a lot of our content, especially over the next year, while we're still getting our team assembled and things like that, is going to be based on writer interest. I have things that I want to push for, but you can't always make people do stuff. So a lot of times it's, hey, what are you as a human being and a sports fan interested in? Let's talk about it. Let's see if it'll make good content.
So hopefully next spring we are in Los Angeles for WrestleMania 37. And I'm hoping that maybe Sports Obsessive, if you guys can make it out, please look us up and come have either a adult beverage or a soda with us before one of the matches. And we certainly will look forward to pushing Sports Obsessive and checking you out and seeing how you guys grow and prosper. I mean, I've checked it out a little bit already, and I love it. I love what you guys are doing. I love your Twitter feed, I guess, and I was a little bit on your homepage. But as the sports world, it's kind of cool when you got a connection, and I think people watching an interview like this get a chance to go know a little bit about your history, and makes it a lot more fun to kind of follow the sports. So, is the 25 years later still running?
Yeah, it's still up and running, but that site's bigger than ever. The pandemic didn't slow down 25 years later. And then just to show you how crazy we are, on October 1st, we're launching our third site, which is completely dedicated to horror. It's Horror Obsessive.
Wow.
And Obsessions is kind of our brand. 25 years later is a lot about the things that maybe these shows and these movies are older, but you still obsess over them. You still want to talk about them. So that is kind of our brand. We'll write about new stuff and current stuff, but there's still a lot of value in looking at older shows, older movies, older wrestling, whatever the case may be, because we still love these things. We're still hooked on them. They made us fall in love with them for a reason. And horror is going to be the third site in our company. So we are pretty nuts. It almost feels insane to launch a third site right now, but that's what we're doing, and we're very excited about it, and that'll be October 1st.
Oh, that's fantastic. Go ahead, Connor. I think I cut you off.
That's okay. I just wanted to add in too. I just want to say, we got a great team over at 25 years later, and obviously at Sports Obsessive as well. It's I don't know. I only know my brother. Obviously, he's the editor for the music department at 25 years later. But a lot of these other people, they're just people on the internet, and it would be awesome one day to share a beer with just our team, not even other channels here. So
Yeah,
that's the goal for me, is kind of meet up at a convention or a show or something like that. That's the ultimate dream here. So been enjoying every minute, and I thank Andrew every day for getting me involved, because I was not a writer before this, and I've definitely been trying to improve every day on it.
Well, it's been a good thing.
You guys are spread out no matter what, pandemic or not.
Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Well, good. Let's plan it right now. Let's plan on there being a vaccine, everything's back to normal, and you guys coming out and covering WrestleMania 37 and hanging out with us for a little bit. We'll get you some swag and talk wrestling.
All right.
Sounds good.
Do it.
All righty. Thank you, guys. So it's Sports Obsessive. We're going to have your credentials here plastered on here when we air this on YouTube. But Andrew, Connor, I cannot thank you guys enough for joining us. Thank you very much.
Hey, thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to come on tonight.